What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we're going to be talking about sim racing again, and specifically the titles that are currently available, currently developed, currently have the knowledge and know-how from the community still behind them. Now this video might be a little bit weird because I'm going to suggest games that on paper look quote-unquote old. They don't necessarily have the best graphics, they definitely aren't new, they're definitely not games that are going to spawn 15,000 players online every night or anything like that, but because of the fact that they have been around for a while and they have been established as solid titles, we know what we are getting. They have the knowledge and the know-how behind them. In certain cases, there's been mods behind them to extend the functionality or add new cars and all that type of stuff. And so, really, an old game isn't necessarily a bad game. Even once rFactor 2 comes out, I'll still be playing rFactor 1 for quite a while until I get what I'm looking for in rFactor 2. For you guys out there, maybe you're familiar with the ARMA series. Much the same thing happens over there, where ARMA 2 was okay and all on release, but people were still playing ARMA 1 because it offered things that ARMA 2 didn't offer because they were added in by mods and not necessarily default content, if that makes any sense for you guys out there. I will be covering the upcoming sims in the next episode in this series, though, because obviously with 2013, 2014, it should be a great year for sims. That said, I'm only going to be covering a couple of titles here. There are obviously a lot more available, which you guys out there, you're experienced sim racers, you guys would definitely know and definitely vouch for this. These are just the titles that I personally feel are worth mentioning if you were to start, if you were to begin. So anyways, let's talk about the first three titles, which are going to be rFactor, GTR2, and Game Stock Car, which is a completely back-asswards name in English, but don't get it twisted. Now, the first thing that you need to know about these three titles, they are all based off of the same graphics and physics engines. This was created by IMHO Incorporated, otherwise known as ISI, and it's called the G-Motor 2 graphics engine, and I guess it's technically the P-Motor physics engines, but everybody just calls it G-Motor 2. Now, this might be considered a bad thing because it is obviously fairly old, fairly dated looking. That said, if you're playing a sim, it's more about the physics rather than the graphics, because there are definitely better graphical experiences out there. One of the main advantages of this engine is the modability. And one of the main advantages of rFactor, the first title I'm going to talk about, is modability. rFactor was basically created by ISI to be the modder's playground of sim racing. Now, this is a good thing and a bad thing. First of all, it's a very good thing because there are so many mods out there. You can drive almost anything and everything. I can't think of anywhere else that there's been a mod for 1990s, late 1990s, 1998 specifically, Kart Racing. That's my absolute favorite. It brings me to tears almost. I love that era of racing so much. Of course, being the era I grew up in and just being the coolest race cars ever on this planet. You got DRM, which is Group 5 touring cars. You got modern endurance sports car racing. There's mods for anything and everything. Obviously, Formula 1, and heck, there's even a Citroen 2CV mod out there. Not sure why you would want to race something like that, but it is out there. You can find anything and everything. There are tracks from any time period you can mention, from just tiny little go-kart tracks all the way up to Targa Florio, which is 72 kilometers long, just the most massive thing you can comprehend. Very good thing to have that scale of modability. That said, it is also kind of one of those things where, as a beginning user, it can be very intimidating because there's a lot of absolute crap out there. Online racing is basically dead and doesn't happen because of the fact there is literally so much stuff out there. You get version mismatches and everything. If you want to race online, you basically have to join a league, unfortunately. But league quality racing will definitely be better, which I'll talk about at the end of this video with that fourth sim. So honestly, rFactor is a great title to have, definitely one you should have. Offers a lot to like, such as 24 hours, day-night cycle, AI that's fairly decent. It can be really hairy on the first lap for sure, but it ends up working. And honestly, it's just a great showcase of what the engine can do, and with well-developed mods, it definitely holds its own with pretty much any title out there. Next, we move over to GTR2, which is probably still the best when it comes to endurance sports car racing, and probably will be for a while here still to come. One of the main advantages is the fact that it's an official FIA GT Championship product of its time. It simulates the 2003 and 2004 FIA GT Championships. So you get all the circuits of the 2003 and 2004 season, as well as all of the cars. If you purchase the Steam version of this game, because it is available on Steam for I believe $12 or so, which is a bargain, might I add, you will be missing Porsche and Ferrari. If you download the no CD crack, which is basically pretty much a given anyways if you're going to be modding the game, you will get those pieces of content back. It's just due to the current restrictions with the licensing. Back then they actually had the license because of the GT series, and it's just a mess, a little bit of a headache, a little bit of mix-up in the time, but that's all you need to do. Just get the no CD crack and you'll get your stuff back like you should. And all is well. 24-hour day-night cycle. You got rain. This is the only title here to feature rain, actually. It's not necessarily the best, but for its age, it is definitely worth it. And obviously, you got more mods as well. It's not quite as heavily modded as the rFactor is, but at the same time, you know, if you're especially big into GT racing as I am, you know, you got pretty much the FIA GT since the dawn of time, basically, since, you know, probably the early 2000s. The modern series have been added, the modern tracks as well, and a lot of the content from rFactor is ported over to GTR2. It just usually depends on the modders, but most of the cars and most of the tracks are available in both. So it really just comes down to preference. Personally, I got GTR2 when it came out for $20, and it is still one of the best sim racing packages out there. And it probably will be forever. If I'd say that you have to own one title from this generation of sims, this is the one. That said, it's not for everyone because not everyone enjoys this type of racing, to say the least. So anyways, let's get on to the shocker, I guess you'd call it. And that shocker isn't really a shocker at all if you know the history behind this title. Game Stock Car. Now the history behind this title can simply be put as this. A couple of the best modders for rFactor gather, form their own studio, somehow get the license to the Brazilian stock car series. Not really sure how they ended up with that one. And they make a kick-ass sim on the platform that they are most familiar with. Simple as that, you get the results that you expected. Probably the best driving experience out there currently in terms of just raw physics. Now that said, it still is definitely G-Motor 2. It is definitely getting along in the tooth. However, that isn't necessarily a bad thing when it drives like this. Trust me, you need to try this one out rather than just say, oh, it looks old and dated, I don't want this, because you'd be doing yourself a disservice. As well as the fact that it's easy to overlook this sim on the simple basis that it's Brazilian stock car racing. If you're like me, you've never heard of Brazilian stock car racing before this sim, so you probably didn't care. That was me, even though I knew the history behind this game. Yes, I am a moron, and yes, I regret that decision. I've since picked it up and been playing it very, very often. What a Brazilian stock car is basically a V8 powered tube-framed race car. Putting out about 500 horsepower or so, I believe. Slick tires, a little bit of downforce, but not too terribly much. I imagine it kind of as some sort of weird hybrid between American NASCAR, Australian V8 supercars with a little bit of DTM thrown in there. And just kind of shake that up and you get a really awesome race car. Really awesome, by the way. I just want to see these things actually in the flesh because they do look cool. But on top of the Brazilian stock cars, you also get a variety of official add-on content that is provided free, I might add. Well done. I always like that, supporting your own title. Very nice. Well done. Classy move, Reiza Studios. You get the Formula Reiza, which is a modern Formula 1 car. I believe it's based off the Red Bull RB7, so it's obviously a fast car. You get the Formula Classic, which is a late 80s F1 car. I believe it's based off of the McLarens. However, there is no turbo modeling, unfortunately, which is kind of a big deal, but it is still a blast to drive. Then you also get the Mini Challenge, which is Mini Coopers, modern Mini Coopers. Front-wheel drive. They're a hoot to drive, actually, even though I don't like front-wheel drive. And you also get the Camaro SS car, which is the stock, showroom stock Camaro SS, which serves as a pace car. It's also drivable in-game stock car as the street version, and it's great fun to just shred tires in that thing. You do get a really good driving experience. Unfortunately, it is still G-Motor 2, which brings with it kind of iffy AI, as well as the fact that there isn't really a 24-hour day-night cycle, unlike GTR2 and rFactor 2. The Brazilian stock cars don't have headlights, FYI. There's no rain, but alternatively, what is there is some of the best that G-Motor 2 has to offer. And again, really, you need to try this title out. I cannot ask you anymore to at least try this title. The downloader, the installer that you can get on their website functions as the full version for 60 minutes. So you can try it out and get a feel for it. Again, you know, it's easy to tell you guys out there that you should look at GTR2, you know, you got FIA GT Racing. That's cool and everything. It's easy to say, you know, rFactor, you can have anything you'd like. This title needs a little bit more selling. That's kind of why I'm doing it as such. Because again, it's so easy to overlook this title, but that would definitely be a crucial error. So, I cannot urge you to try this one out anymore, and at least give it a shot. Again, you have nothing to lose. rFactor as well serves as a demo for its regular installer, much like GameStop Car does as well. GTR2 is available on Steam. I do not believe they have the demo available on Steam. Not sure if you could even find the demo now, given that it's been several years since. But that should get you going in the right direction. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the most flammable sim, to say the least. It is definitely the one that sparks the most heated debate for whatever reason, because it's like some sort of weird, twisted religion for many on both sides of the fence. And that'd be iRacing, because it actually does warrant an entire video to it for a variety of reasons. But we'll go ahead and explain that when we get to it. So, until the next episode, bye.